Imagine that you are powerful beyond your wildest dreams. Your own unique and powerful soul is your very essence, leading you closer to the true source of beauty, magnificence, and wonder that is found deep within your being. Powerful Soul is about you. It's about helping you uncover the true nature of your soul. Once you understand the power of who you truly are, you will be unstoppable and you will begin to live your best life. This show is a tool to help you, once again, reclaim the power of your soul.
No matter how hard I look, I'm still blind. It's not what you see, but what you...
Hello, and welcome to Powerful Soul. I'm your host, Laurie Majka, and I'm so glad you're here today. The topic that we're going to cover is called You Have Lots of Help. So, do you ever feel like you were just dropped into this body and now here you are fending for yourself in this life? Why are we here? Well, I believe we're here to learn lessons. And as a powerful soul, we do have lots of lessons to learn. I believe that we are always growing and learning and evolving on our soul journey. But I think that we have lots of places that we can go as souls to learn our lessons. I think that on the other side is probably one of the, and you would see me, if you could see me live, you'd see me with air quotes saying that this is one of the easiest places to learn lessons. And what I mean by that is on the other side, the energy there and the feeling there is nothing but pure love. I think we have that sense that there is nothing that could ever harm us. Everything feels good, and we feel very connected to each and every soul, to God, to the universe, and most importantly, to that vibration of love, which is the true essence of who we really are. But as souls, we do choose to learn lessons in other places, and Earth is one of our schools where we choose to learn lessons. And I think that there are lots and lots of realms, probably infinite types of numbers of realms that we can go to learn lessons where the circumstances are very different from what we would perceive them to be here on this Earth. Maybe that's why we see aliens or think that there are other beings and other places and other planets, because there probably are other planets that we can go to, but I think it's probably so much more complex than anything we could ever conceive with our human mind. So we obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, have chosen to come to Earth to learn our lessons. And so you're here in this lifetime. And I think the reason that it's very difficult for us as souls to come to Earth to learn lessons is because we feel a separation from everything. We feel like we are completely alone, like we're on our own, because on the other side, there is no separation from soul to soul. We are intimately and connected through this web of love and light and to each other, and there is no separation. So when souls come here, we leave all that behind and we forget who we truly are. And again, we forget the power of our soul. I remember one time listening to a woman who had had a near-death experience talk about her experience on the other side. And she said when she died, she was in this large, large stadium room where she was on the stage and she was standing in front of all of these other souls talking about her earthly experience. And they were asking her lots of questions. And she said that the energy in the room felt like she felt revered. She felt revered because many, many souls, she said, choose not to come to this earth plane to learn their lessons because it's just too hard. So I would like to think of ourselves, the souls who have come here to this earth to learn lessons, as kind of daredevil souls, because it is difficult. It is difficult to have to forget who we really are in order to learn lessons, but it's on purpose, because if we remembered who we were, it would be difficult to learn the types of lessons that we're here to learn, maybe about love, about forgiveness. There are just infinite types of lessons that we're here to learn, and I think it varies from soul to soul, and it varies depending on how much time you spend on this earth plane. So, in order to come here, I think that there are lots of things that we pick. I think we pick every aspect of our body. I think we pick where we're going to live. I think we pick the timing that we come in. We certainly have contracts with other souls and soulmates that we come here and play various different roles to learn lessons from one another. And I will talk about that in a future episode called Soulmates and Soul Contracts. I also believe that we pick our parents. Does that scare you? It might, depending on what type of childhood you have, and but it would make sense, right? Because our parents are the first teachers we ever have in this lifetime, whether they're your adopted parents, whether they're grandparents that you live with, whether they're your biological parents, step parents. The parents probably have the most influence on who we become. And so it would be important as souls for us to pick who we decide to live with so that we can have the optimal conditions to learn whatever lessons we've chosen to learn in this lifetime. But today, I want to talk about the help that you have. And by help, I mean that we are truly not alone in this earth plane, even though it feels like we are. We have so much help and guidance around us. Every single moment, every second of every day, you are surrounded with guidance. You have what I'm going to call a spirit team, and the team consists of spirit guides. Okay, so what is a spirit guide? A spirit guide is an entity who is still on the other side, helping you, guiding you towards learning the lessons that you set up for yourself to learn here. So, a spirit guide could be somebody who is with you as a soulmate. They could be an ascended soul, so a soul that is a little bit more evolved in order to help you learn lessons. And I believe that we have lots of different spirit guides and lots of different types. I believe we have a primary spirit guide, one that is with us from the moment we're born until the moment that we die. They might be a very, very close soulmate that chose not to incarnate during this lifetime so that they could guide you. They might be just somebody who you have chosen to learn from because they are more evolved in their journey than you are. And we also have spirit guides, I think, that come in at different parts of our life, like maybe one that is around us in childhood, maybe one that's around us as we're honing our career and becoming a certain type of a specialty. Maybe you are a doctor and you have some soul who had a lifetime as a doctor and now they're guiding you, or maybe you're a writer and you have a spirit guide that who used to be a writer guiding you as you're creating your books and all of your content here on this earth. And then we also have different other types of guides like angels. I think we have a lot of protection from angels. I know you've probably heard of the archangels. So those are angels that are protectors or have certain roles. There's one that's associated with love. And then we also probably have different angels that are just with us throughout all of our lifetimes. And then we also have passed away loved ones who can play very, very significant roles. I believe some of these souls, when they go to the other side, maybe may even take over and become your primary spirit guide after they've left this earth plane to help you. And then I also believe as a powerful soul that we are guided by ourselves. We do have a very high version of our soul that is on the other side helping to guide us, because I don't believe that our entire soul comes into this body. I believe only the smallest fraction of our soul comes into this body to help us and experience this life while we're here. So I want to tell a story about one of my spirit guides. Back in 2009, when I was accelerating my spiritual journey, I came across a book that talked about how you could uncover who your spirit team was, how you could find out who your guides were. And it talked a lot about just talking to your guides and asking them to send you signs about who they were. So I had been reading this book. At the time, I was in the middle of a divorce. And if you listened to my last episode, you heard me a couple episodes ago, you heard me talk about my foreclosure house. So I was living in that house and I had spent the entire day outside gardening. Now, this is back in 2009 when we had flip phones. They were not smartphones. And the only thing you really had was a little camera, the ability to text, the ability to call, and maybe you could store some music like from your iTunes on your phone. And I remember I had spent the whole day outside working, gardening, and I had been listening to music. You've heard me talk before about my passed away loved one, Mark Abrahamian, who was the lead guitarist of the band Starship. And so if I had heard a song that particular day from Starship, from Mark, I definitely would have been aware of it because at that time he was not in my life. We were separated and we didn't have contact. So that night I went to bed like normal. It was a weekend. I did not set my alarm to wake up in the morning because I would wake up pretty naturally about the same time. But in the middle of the night, around 2 a.m., my alarm went off using a song in full blast, and it was the song Sarah by Starship. It scared the bejesus out of me, it jumped me out of a sound sleep, and I was so confused because number one, I knew I had not set an alarm. Number two, I was very quickly able to ascertain that my music was playing, and I knew the way that iTunes worked, that whatever song I ended on would have been the next song that would have played on my phone. And I knew that I had not heard a Starship song that day. In any case, as soon as the song Sarah was playing, I got this overwhelming feeling that the reason it was playing is because my spirit team, my spirit guide, was telling me that her name was Sarah. And so I really, really strongly believe that. It just felt like such an overwhelming knowingness that that was true, especially because I had been asking, reading this book, and I had been seeking to try and find out who my spirit guide's name was. Now, Sarah isn't really a name I would probably give to a spirit guide. I think our spirit guides are ancient and very diverse, and I've heard lots of terminology and names that aren't normal human names used for spirit guides. So I don't know that I would have thought, oh, my spirit guide's name is Sarah. But in any case, about a year later, I happened to have a medium reading. And it was this guy who was the son of a medium that I had spoken to many, many times. And it was my first reading ever with him. And he was bringing Mark through. This was after Mark had died. And he was bringing Mark through and he was talking about my spirit guides. And I asked him if he knew the name of my spirit guides. And his response was, I'm not very good with names. And then he was silent for a couple of seconds. And then he said, Sarah. So I knew without a doubt in that moment that I had not imagined what happened to me back in 2009. And I believe that Sarah is my spirit guide. It was also confirmed later by a second medium that my spirit guide's name was Sarah. So if you ask, you can find answers to questions. Your team loves to send you signs. It's just that most of us don't always pick up the signs that they're sending, or we shrug them off as coincidence, or it's hard sometimes with our left-brained skeptical mind to embrace signs as truth because we are always looking for an explanation as to why something happened, and spirit's usually not the first thing we go to. Okay, I'm going to take a little break here. This is a new podcast, and I do not have sponsors yet, but I do anticipate at some time in the future having sponsors. So I've decided I'm going to do my own little commercials, and today's commercial is almost like a public service announcement, and I want to talk to you about using a white light of protection. About 14 years ago, I had a medium reading with a woman named Mariah Rame. I've been having readings with her over the years, and I just cannot recommend her ability strongly enough. She is just such an incredible medium. Just adore her. And one time I took a class with her in person, and she was talking about how we could protect ourselves. And she asked us to all stand there and imagine this beautiful white light way above our heads. Close your eyes and see this beautiful white light above you. And imagine this white light cascading down, touching your head, falling down onto your shoulders, falling down, draping down around your body until your entire body is surrounded with this brilliant white light of protection. And imagine it's your angels, your spirit team, your spirit guides, your passed away loved ones, putting this beautiful white light of protection around you. I have used this so many times in my life. I've used this not only to help protect myself, but I've also used this to help protect my kids, my dog. Sometimes I'll imagine a white light of protection around my house when things are scary that are going on. And I think right now we're in kind of a scary time in this world. And it doesn't hurt to imagine having this beautiful white light of protection around us, because I think that that is really how spirit works. Actually, recently I was with my daughter and her friends, and we had come up to our cabin here in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and there were these little ducks that were on the road. There were three of them. They had been born this year. They were young enough that they could barely fly, but they were not strong enough to fly very far. And so we caught all three of them and took them to a pond where they drank and they ate. And the four of us all stood around these ducks. And I asked everybody to close their eyes and imagine a white light of protection around these little baby ducks who were without their mom. Were two females and a male. And I really like to think that this works. I do think that when we ask, we are given protection. Okay, so let's continue on. So I've told you a little bit about your spirit guides and your spirit team. And I think it's very important that you actually ask your spirit team for help. Now, obviously, I think we get help from angels, especially for protection and guidance. I think we do have guardian angels, and I think that they help us because this world is a dangerous place, and sometimes we do dumb things. And I think our spirit guides and angels sometimes kick in and help us and protect us and guide us so that we don't wind up taking ourselves out of this world before it's time, before our lessons are learned. But as far as spirits go, I do really believe that in order to get help, you have to ask, because we have been given a beautiful gift from the light, from God, from the other side, and that is free will. While we're here, we absolutely have the ability to do what we want to do. It's our life to create. And although we have lessons, we don't always remember that we have lessons. Although we have soul contracts with other souls, we don't always choose to continue those contracts the way that we may have planned and set them up from the other side. So, because of the free will, I do believe in order to get help from your spirit team, you have to ask. I also believe that we have guides who help us for different reasons. I was able to connect with an incredible medium who I'm going to talk about in a future episode called Mediums, whose name is Thomas John Flanagan. He is a really, really amazing medium, and I've had the privilege of having a few different readings from him. And a year ago, when I had a reading with him, I spent an entire day with him. We talked a lot about my spirit team and about who was on my spirit team helping me and guiding me. And he started naming some of my spirit team by name. And he told me that with my writing, I actually had a very ascended guide who had been a very prominent writer in his lifetime who was helping me write my books from the other side. And I thought that was such a cool concept to think that we would have these guides who have had experiences on Earth, just like we've had experiences, and who have evolved different skills, and then use those abilities to help guide us in different aspects of our life and areas that we're trying to learn. He also talked about my great grandma Gladys. My great grandma Gladys has been the primary helper with my paintings. She was not an artist, a study, like she didn't study art, but in her 40s, she picked up a paintbrush and began painting. And that's exactly the journey that I had. And so today I would like to share my story of my great grandma Gladys and how I came to understand that she is around me and she has been helping me and guiding me when I was doing my soul heart art painting. I've told a little bit about the story of Mark and the day that he died. I had been walking in the forest preserve and I had this thought that he died, and it seemed like an odd thought, and I pushed it away. And then later on, I was in my bathroom taking a shower, and I had a second thought that Mark had died in a plane crash. And rather than pushing that thought away instantly, I thought about it a little bit more, and it didn't really make sense to me. And I didn't understand why I had had these two thoughts of this 46-year-old, seemingly healthy man die. It didn't make sense. And he and I had not spoken for 3 years, so I didn't know if it was true or not. But I got out of the shower and I began drying my hair. And while I was drying my hair, I had this overwhelming feeling that I needed to go find the ring that belonged to my great grandmother that she had given me, willed to me after she died. And it was an odd thought because it wasn't a ring that I wore commonly. My grandmother at that point in time had been dead for several years. I don't think I had ever worn her ring. And as I was having this thought, I wasn't even sure where this ring was, but it was such an overwhelming thought and it wouldn't leave me. It was very persistent. So I finally kind of put the hair dryer down. I was in a hurry to get ready to go to work. I had to leave. I had a meeting that was quite a distance away. And I kind of went, Grandma, okay, fine, I'll go get it. And I went to my jewelry box and I looked around and I did find the ring. I put it on and I actually said in my mind, okay, Grandma, are you happy? And I went back to drying my hair. It was about less than an hour later that I received the news that Mark died. And as soon as I realized that he was no longer on this earth, I knew that my great grandmother had intervened that morning because she knew it was coming. On the other side, they see things differently. The veil from their side to ours is very thin. They don't have the limitations of time, linear time, the way that we do. To them, everything is happening at once. To them, time doesn't pass the way it does for us here. Here we feel like we're on this earth for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. But to them, it feels like they saw us yesterday and they're going to see us tomorrow. It's almost like we went on a 2-month vacation and they know they're going to see us very soon, but to us, it feels like we're here for a long time. So I believe that morning she had intervened, put that thought in my head, willed me to go put on her ring so that I had comfort in knowing that I was not alone on that day that I experienced one of the greatest sadness and tragedies that I had ever experienced in my lifetime, which was losing one of my closest soulmates on this earth. It was a very sad day, but how comforting to know that my great grandmother went to such lengths to make sure that I knew that I was not alone. And I would continue to wear her pearl ring every time I painted. So every single painting that I ever did with my soul heart art was created with her in mind, and her probably assisting me in my creations, which I think is just such a beautiful thing and a beautiful gift. So don't forget that you have the help of not only your spirit team, but also of your passed away loved ones. So think about people that you've had in your life that you've lost, that you know would want to help you. you can ask them. They'll be there. You can also ask them to send you signs so that you know that they're around you. I want to share this also because I think this is such a cool thing. A couple minutes ago, before I started recording this podcast, I was sitting here at my cabin. I'm on vacation this week and I'm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So it's one of my happy places. And I had the local radio station playing in the background as I was reviewing my notes and kind of reviewing what I wanted to talk about in this podcast today. And I came across the story of my great grandmother, and the line after it that I had written said, "Story of the day Mark died." And as I read that line, I heard the Starship song begin to play on the radio, "Don't You Want Somebody to Love?" Isn't that incredible? Not only do I get signs a lot with songs, but to read the line about Mark dying and to hear his own band, a Starship song, begin to play on the radio, the moment I read that, I just am never fail to be completely amazed at the way that Spirit uses timing for me with signs. I just thought that that was such a cool thing I wanted to share with you today. Okay, let's take our last little break. I want to talk to you today about raising your vibration, and I want to share a near-death experience video that I came across a few weeks ago that I think you are going to absolutely love. This is such an incredible message. The person who had the near-death experience, his name is Peter Panagore. It's P as in Paul, Anagore. Panagore, Panagore, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And he was interviewed on a podcast called Passion Harvest. And you can find this on YouTube. It's a little bit over an hour long, but this is so worthwhile and worth your time. And I want to just talk about one of the things he shared in his near-death experience. He said that when he died and he was on the other side, he was in the presence of God and he was talking to God, and he said God took him to the edge kind of the universe, and he showed him the earth. And Peter said that in this state of being where he was reunited with the true essence and the power of his soul on the other side, there was no piece of knowledge that he could ask about that he couldn't know. He was able to know and understand every single aspect of everything he wanted to know: how the universe was created, who we are, just all of these kind of scientific questions that elude us while we're here on this earth plane. And he said that he was shown the earth. God let him peek through the veil and see the earth. And he said in this powerful state of his soul, he was able to look at all of the people on the earth. Now, this is back in the 70s, so I don't know how many people would have been on this earth. He said he was able to look and peer at the earth, and he was able to know every single soul's purpose, every single soul's thought, every single soul's motivation. There was no soul that he could look at that he did not know and understand everything about them. But most importantly, he was able to peer down and look at the souls of his parents. And in his near death experience, he was trying to decide if he was going to come back to this earth or if he was going to stay on the other side. He said that God wanted him to stay on the other side, but he looked at his parents and he was able to see the trajectory of their life and how it would feel and how they would continue their lives if they knew that he died versus if he came back, how they would continue their life. And he had decided that since his parents had already experienced some profound losses in their life, they would not have a very good life if he chose not to go back to the earth. So he did make the decision to come back and resume his lifetime. But the reason I'm telling you about this is because you are so powerful as a soul. Imagine that you could peer down on this earth and see all the 7.8 billion people that are here on this earth right now and know every single thought and every motivation. That's how powerful you are on the other side as a soul. Okay, so to conclude what we've talked about here today, you have help. Help is there for the asking. And if you've never talked to your spirit guides before, then ask them to give you signs. Ask them to put messages into your mind that you can understand are from them. I shared that story of that near death experience today because I really do want you to understand how much power we have as souls. And if we have that much power, how much more power does God have, the creator of everything, the creator of everything that we are? So don't be afraid not only to go to your spirit team, but of course you can go directly to the source. God loves us. He knows exactly what we're here to learn, and He is only pure love. So we have so much help. Remember that we have lessons to learn, and sometimes we may ask what we think we want while we're here, and we don't always get what we want. Things do not always unfold in the way that we're asking. And sometimes we say our prayers and we feel like our prayers go unanswered and things don't go the way that we want them to go. But if you stop and you pull back and you think about the lessons that you're here to learn, we're not completely aware of every lesson that we're here to learn. Sometimes when things happen, even though it doesn't feel like it at the time, it's for our greatest good. Because if those things didn't happen, perhaps we would not be able to learn these lessons that we set out to learn for ourselves. So I understand that we always want to ask for things, and we have these aspects in our mind of how we think things should go or how we want things to go. Maybe when they don't go the way that we think we want them to go, there's a reason behind it, a reason that's so much bigger than we could probably understand with our human mind. I'm reminded of a story back about 20 years ago. There was this house that I really wanted to buy. There was a couple that was getting divorced, and the house seemed on paper to meet every single aspect that I was looking for. It was next to a park, it was on a dead end street, it was a quiet neighborhood, the schools were good. It was very updated. I was really excited about this house, and I asked my realtor to set up an appointment to go see it. And we kept getting canceled. And then ultimately, in the middle of trying to pursue buying this house, the people who were selling it decided that they weren't going to sell it. And I was so disappointed because I was like, this was my house. This is the one I wanted. And I wound up buying another house. In hindsight now, this is 20 years ago, I now see how Spirit completely orchestrated this house that I wound up purchasing in the town that I wound up living in. They were two different towns between the house I was trying to purchase and the house I ultimately bought and lived in. The people that I met in my life changed every direction of where my life was going. I wound up in a different career than I would have been in had I purchased that other house, and lots of other experiences. As a matter of fact, because of the town I lived in, they happened to have what they called Addison Days, and that was a festival that they would have in the summertime where they would bring concerts in and performers in to perform for the village. And that was how I met Mark. So I wonder if I had bought that other house, would I have had all of the lessons? Would I have met the people that I have in my life now? Would I be living in Arizona? Would I be even talking to you right now in this Powerful Soul podcast? Probably not. So I think that there are some things in our life that are just meant to happen, because if they didn't happen, we could not have the life that we are meant to have. We could not learn the lessons that we are meant to learn. So when things are going smoothly in your life, it is an indication that you are on the right path. But don't be afraid to ask for help anyway. So thank you. I am so glad that you tuned into this episode. You've got a lot of help, and I hope that it helped you understand that you are not alone in this world. You have help, and you only have to ask. As always, you can reach me on my website at lauriemajka.com. I have a contact page. I would love to hear from you there. I'm also on YouTube and Instagram under Laurie Majka. If you would like more inspiration, please join me on my Soul Heart Art page on Facebook. It is Soul Heart Art XO. And I do have a website, www.soulheartart.com. you can go there and you can sign up to receive the Daily Soul Whispers in your email, where I share inspirational paintings with the Soul Whisperer and the backstory behind those paintings. So you can sign up there. Never forget that you are a powerful soul, and the essence of you is pure spirit. You are a soul in a body, not a body with a soul. Part of your lesson here on this earth is to remember who you truly are. You are beautiful beyond measure, and together we can change the world. Thank you, and I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.
So just be you, your beautiful self. 'Cause when you love you, you don't need nobody else. Singing la-ti-da-di-da, oh la-ti-da-ti-da-di-da. Life is beautiful when you know just who you are. La-ti-da-di-da, oh la-ti-da-ti-da-di-da.